on the Latoun roundabout near Newmarket on Fergus, in County Clare, a lone hawthorn bush stands fenced in the middle of a dual carriageway, because in 1999, the men building the M18 turned the road around it rather than cut it down. Think about that for a second. A whole planned motorway line, worked out on paper, priced and measured, and it bends for one small thorn bush on a bare field. This is the first of 10 real Irish roads that swerve around something the map won't explain. Watch the tarmac in each of these. It does something a road should never do. It flinches. Number 1. Latoun, County Clare. Here is the record. The M18 dual carriageway was set to run straight through a field near Newmarket on Fergus, and in the path of that line stood a single hawthorn. The folklorist Eddie Lenihan went to the newspapers and said the bush should not be touched. He called it a meeting place for the Munster fairies, a spot where they gathered before battle. The plan was changed. The root was moved. The thorn was left where it grew. That is the record. This is what people say. Cut that bush, and you take the luck of the road with it. Every crash on that stretch, so the account goes, would be laid at the door of the man who felled it. And today, the hawthorn still stands, fenced off, alone, in the grass at the heart of the roundabout, with the traffic curving around it exactly as the builders left it. So here is the shape of the next while. 10 bends. Each one gets the record first, then the story, clearly marked as the story. The parish, the date and the source named every time. Now, number 2. Number 2 takes us to County Leitrim, to a bend on a quiet road outside a townland, where the tarmac skirts a ring of hawthorn. Here is the record. The Ordnance Survey men who mapped this ground in the 1840s marked the ring on their sheet. They drew it, noted it, and drove no line through it. When the road came, it went around the outside of the trees rather than the middle. That is the record. This is what people say. That ring is a fairy ring, and the ring belongs to itself. A man might own the field. He does not own the thorns. Locals will tell you nobody has taken a saw to that circle in living memory, and nobody intends to. Today the trees are still there, low and wind-bent on an open field under gray Leitrim cloud, and the road still keeps its distance. Number 3. County Roscommon. A road that curves for the ruins of a medieval chapel and its graveyard. Here is the record. The parish account remembers a church on this site long before the road, with a burial ground worn into the soil around it. When the modern line was surveyed, the tarmac was swung wide to leave that consecrated ground undisturbed. The stones of the chapel still stand in the grass beside the bend, roofless, the walls low enough to step over. That is the record. This is what people say. That is holy ground, and the dead in it were baptized and buried by the parish, and you do not lay a road across their heads. Disturb it, the older people say, and you disturb more than earth. Today the chapel walls remain. The graveyard is grown over. The road curves past its edge, and the two have kept to their separate sides for as long as anyone can remember. 3 bends so far, and already the pattern is showing itself. A road reaches something, and instead of going through, it goes around, which brings us south into County Cork and onto a narrow boreen that runs down toward a low field. The men who built this road came to that field with their spades and their measuring chains, and there they stopped. They would not break the ground, not because of a bush or a ring or a chapel, because of what the parish knew was buried underneath, laid there in the famine years, and never opened since. So the boreen bends, and it has never stopped bending. Drive it today, and you still swing wide of a low patch of field on the inside of the curve. No headstone, no fence worth the name, just grass that sits a little different from the grass around it. That is the record, as far as the parish memory keeps it. This is what people say, that the ground was blessed once, quietly, by whoever was left to do it, and that turning a spade there would be a kind of theft. So the road went around, and the field kept its dead. Number 5. County Kerry, a narrow lane that loops around a standing stone. The stone is on the maps. The Ordnance Survey teams walked this ground in the 1840s, and when they walked it, they marked the stone, because it was there long before any of them, and long before the lane. That is the record. A single weathered pillar of stone in the corner of a field, sea mist behind it, older than anyone can date with a straight face. The lane could have gone straight. The stone sat right where a straight line wanted to run. What the survey shows is that the line bent instead. What the locals say is simpler than a fairy story. You do not move an old stone. Your father did not move it. His father did not move it. And the reason nobody could quite give you is exactly why nobody ever tried. So the lane curves around it, and the stone stands where it stood before the road had a name. Now. This is the one where the record beats the story. Watch which one turns out stranger. Number 6. County Meath, a road that bends for what everyone always called a fairy fort. That is the story, and it is a common enough one. A round green rise in a field, a ring of raised ground, and the old word for it. Locals have said for generations that it is a fairy fort, that you leave it be, that the bend in the road is respect paid to whatever lives under the hill. Ask anyone along that stretch, and that is the answer you get. So far, so familiar. Here is where it turns. The estate plans and the archaeological survey were laid over that field, and they do not say fairy fort. They say early medieval ring fort, a real one. A defended farmstead more than 1,000 years old, its bank and ditch still readable in the ground. And underneath it, the survey found a souterrain, an underground passage, stone-lined, cut into the earth, the kind people once used for storage and for hiding. Think about what a road does to that. Drive a straight cutting across the top of a hollow chamber, and the roof gives way. The tarmac collapses into the dark. The engineers who bent that road were not honoring a fairy. They were staying off a hole in the ground they had every reason to avoid. And that is the odd part. The odd part is not the folklore. The odd part is that the survey confirms the hidden chamber is real. The passage is there. The people who told the fairy story could not have seen it, could not have measured it, could not have read a survey drawing. And still the road bent for exactly the thing that would have swallowed it. For once, the record and the story agree. The bend is both. Before the next one, stop for a second. What you just heard makes far more sense next to the estate plan and the dates. The places, the records, the sources. I put all of it into a written document. It's linked below, and the QR code is on your screen. Take 5 seconds, grab it, and come back. Right. Number 7. This one leaves the fields and the forts behind. County Tipperary. A road that makes a clean, deliberate turn, and it turns for something that is still in use. Not a ruin, not a stone nobody visits. A holy well with water in it, and a path worn to it by feet. Because once a year, on one particular day, people still walk to that well. And the road has kept out of their way for longer than anyone can properly count. One appointment, made a very long time ago, that the tarmac has never once broken. So the water stays where it is, and the road bends to reach it without ever crossing it. That is the record in County Tipperary, and it is enough on its own. What people say is smaller and older than any saint. They say you take the water on the pattern day and no other, and you leave a rag on the bush beside it, and you walk to it. You do not drive. The path is worn to the well by feet once a year, and the road keeps its distance. One appointment kept for centuries. Number 8, County Galway, and a route that makes a slow curve for no reason a stranger would ever see. Inside that curve is a cillin, an unconsecrated burial ground, low grassy mounds, no stones, no names cut anywhere. These were the places where the unbaptized were laid, and the parish never marked them the way it marked the churchyard. The record here is thin, and it is meant to be. County history notes the ground and little else. The road builders knew what the mounds were, and they went around them. That is the record. This is what people say. They say you do not break that ground, not with a plow and not with a spade, and certainly not with a road. Not out of fear, out of something quieter than fear. The children were left in peace once, and the curve leaves them in peace still. Number 9. County Donegal, on the coast, where a road runs out to meet the sea and then swings hard inland for a stretch before it comes back. The county history tells you why. The first line was laid straight, across a bog, and the bog took it. The men who built it came back to find the surface sunk and soft, the stones gone down into the black. They tried it twice. Then they abandoned the line and cut the new road around the firmer ground at the edge. That is the record, plainly. The story that grew around it is thinner, but it lingers. They say the bog does not give back what it takes, and that somewhere under the wet ground, the first road is still down there, whole, waiting. The new road bends around the place it drowned. And number 10. This is the strangest one, and the one I'd keep for last on purpose. County Antrim. A road climbs a rise, and near the top, it swings sharply around a single ancient thorn tree standing alone on the bare ground. There is nothing else up there. The land around it was cleared long ago. The tree was not. And here is the record, and it is a good one. The thorn is named in estate papers from the 18th century. When the surrounding land was cleared and the road was laid, the landowner ordered the tree spared. It is written down, a tree named on paper, to be left standing. That is the record. This is what people say. They say the sparing was not a kindness. They say every attempt to fell that thorn ended badly, one way or another, and that after enough of them, the answer was simple. Leave it. The bend was cheaper than the argument. Whether you believe that or not, the outcome is the same. It still stands, and the road still bends around it. Step back now, across all 10. The pattern is plain, and it does not change from county to county. A road curves, and behind the curve is always something people would not disturb. The dead, the sacred, the old, and the uncanny. The record explains most of them, and the record is not mysterious at all. A hunger pit nobody would open, a ring fort with a chamber beneath it, a chapel, a graveyard, a well, a bog that swallowed the line. The story explains the rest, and now and then, at a bend like the one in Meath, the two of them agree. Which leaves us back where we started, a lone hawthorn in County Clare, fenced in the median of a dual carriageway, spared in 1999, and a lone thorn on a rise in County Antrim, spared in estate papers more than 200 years before it. 2 trees, 2 centuries apart, the same tarmac bending for both. Some Irish roads were straightened, and these 10 never were. Tell me in the comments which of these 10 bends you'd least want to walk past after dark. The well, the Sillin, the drown line in Donegal, or the thorn on the hill in Antrim. There's another road waiting on your screen now, and one more county to name.